Rob Timpen wins his home race. Newwood has it. Newwood is champion. Linus and Thomas, champions in teams. The Summer Cup stay in RF2 Racing League, but we also have lots of new teams for the new season. 32 drivers signed up in 19 teams from 13 nations all over the world. The most popular new teams are Lusitanium, Sim Racing, ACR Zackspeed, Trollerbull and a few more. The laxative driver Stefan Denecke had pole position in Suzuka. Can he do it again in Bathurst? Georg Walz and Dirk Karnat are celebrating a 5-year anniversary of NetRace Motorsport. If they stay cool and concentrated, they can finish in the top 10. In the kart world team we have a comeback of Mike Lyra. Lyra is experienced in real kart racing, and a new face in RF2 Racing League is Marius van Wyk. A very experienced endurance driver wants to take the challenge of a sprint race. Cold Fox has even 2 teams in the grid. The experienced Niklas Pobatnik and Marcello Tocco can surprise a bit the front runners. For the second Cold Fox team only counts race finishes. Father and son in Wallmeyer GT team. While Jürgen crashed in the pre-season race, Björn managed second position. The Seaboard Racing team wants to earn his first race win in the league. Linus and Thomas are quick. Let's see if they can win the team championship again. AFSIM driver Christo Newwood wants to defend his title. While Rob Timpen won the last races, he will put him under huge pressure. The first race of the season, now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening to the first round of the Winter Challenge by RF2 Racing League. And my name is Sebastian Gerhart, and with me in the commentary booth again, Lukas. Good evening, Lukas.
Hello and welcome. Yeah, we welcome you today on Bathurst. And it's going to be a very interesting race, I think.
Yeah, Mount Panorama circuit, and the interesting thing, well, we expected or we hoped for something very different tonight, but it didn't happen because we are driving with real weather, but it's not the real weather from Australia, but it's always from Interlagos, and so Brazil. And we had some rain this noon, but there's no rain now. I think that would have been very, very funny to see some rain in Bathurst, because that's very, very unusual, especially at this time in Australia. Of course, you know, it's summer over there at the moment, while we're here in winter in Germany. And of course, to all our international viewers, and I think there are quite a lot, because again, if you didn't watch the preseason event, there are drivers from 13 different countries here participating in this race evening. And I have to say it again, this is just incredible.
Yeah, it's like I've never seen that many people from that many companies. Countries before. I was hoping to see that we have such a variety of countries, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, definitely. And we had some feedback from for our last live stream, and thanks for the positive feedback. I hope anyway we will try to improve it, because English, of course, not our birth language and mother tongue, and that means sometimes we are mixing up words or something, or just stuck with trying to find the proper words. So I hope you give us some slack, cut off some slack for this might inconvenience from time to time. We are already in the qualifying session here for this race, and it's a bit different for the...
Are we?
I think we should. Or are we? No,
it's practice, and we have two hours practice to go.
Okay, yeah, I was mistaken. Usually it should be now 2 minutes, because we start with our qualification at 7 p.m. German time, and then it's 15 minutes qualification, so that's not that much on Mount Panorama circuit, because it's a 3.86 mile circuit, 6.2 and a bit kilometers long, with 23 turns, and that's a lot for 15 minutes racing. You can see it's more than 2 minutes for one lap, so if you're leaving the pits, you have your out lap, that already costs more than 2 minutes, and then if you're finished with your qualification, you have to come back into the pits before you can start another try, and that takes a lot of time. So if you just want to do one timed lap, it takes you 6 minutes after all, or maybe even 7 with the slow driving in the pits. So with 15 minutes, you probably only have 2 or 3 shots to set a lap time, and that's it. And after that 15-minute qualifying, we have a 5-minute warm-up, and then 2 30-minute races. And the interesting part, in my opinion, is that the position you get from the qualifying is for both races. So no reverse grid after race number 1. The pole position for race 1 is the same for race 2. So it's even worth a bit more to set a very, very good lap time in this qualifying than it is usually when you have a 2 sprint race series.
Alright, yeah, we don't see this very often, that this is happening, or that the organization uses this for their system, but I'm very thrilled to see if it comes out very positive for them, or if we see in the next winter challenge that they changed from this to reverse grid, because I've seen like 2 series which did this as well, and in the next they said, oh, reverse grid, because the fights were always the same, and we had drivers that always won and such things. And I think we will see different rules for the next winter season, but I'm thrilled to see what they will do this time.
Yeah, maybe already collecting some ideas for summer challenge. Maybe that should be the next thing then, I guess. But we are only in the first race, or in the first round of the winter's challenge, so maybe we shouldn't talk too much about the future, but look at what's going on now. And fastest lap in this practice session currently by David Haas, but less than a 10th second ahead of Stefan Deneke. Then it's Kostas Kaloudis, Christo Newood, and then one of the drivers who came very late into this series from the team Storm Racing, and that's Juan Francisco Ruano Guerra, short Juan Fran Ruano. So we can all read the name here during this race. And he just joined the challenge just a few days ago, together with his teammate from Spain. No, he's from Spain, sorry, and his teammate, just have to check again, sorry, from Greece. He is Greek, but from Greece. That's the way. And he's also his name is Kostas. That's because I was struggling to find his name. Kostas Kansouras. That's the teammate of Juan Francisco Ruano Guerra. Now these two just joined this challenge a few days back, so we will even see a bit more drivers on the track, hopefully. 32 drivers now, who will hopefully all participate in this first round. Currently 24 drivers on the server. Maybe there will be a few more in the next few minutes, because sometimes you just check and you just say, okay, qualifying starts at 7, so I try to be there at 7, maybe 5 minutes later. I think we will see a few more drivers tonight. But now we are in the qualifying.
Now I can go back to replay.
They're waiting until they are allowed to leave the pits. The lights turned green, and now David Haas is already leaving the pits. He tried to be in front because he set the fastest lap time in the practice session. So of course it's quite understandable to start from right in front of all the other drivers when you know you might be the fastest of everyone, so you're not stuck in traffic.
The practice is like a qualifying before the qualifying. to get like in a point to say, yeah, let's do David Haas in the front, so he's not blocking others or others blocking him. So like a little qualifying in front of the other qualifying.
Yeah, checking out who's the fastest and where you should start, or if you should hurry in the pits for leaving the pits in the qualifying, or maybe you realize, okay, I will start from 10th, so it's not that much important. But everyone likes to have no one else in front when you are trying to set a good lap time. But by one exception, if you have a teammate and you try to work together, then it's quite interesting if you use your teammate, especially on the uphill section. So not this way, downhill. Okay, slipstream still is quite nice, but it's not that important than on the mountain straight when it goes up the hill, because then every bit of slipstream, of course, makes you faster and improves your lap time quite a lot. And that's something you might try to think of, but he's not doing it at the moment, David Haas. But his teammate is also there, Oskar Könen, currently on 13th position here from the times from the practice session. But he is chased by, I think that's the car of Björn or Jürgen Wahlmeier. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, it was one of the Wahlmeiers, but I couldn't determine which one, because the liveries don't differ very much.
Yeah, the NetRace Motorsport cars usually. Oskar Könen also trying to set his first lap time. Nice to see some of the Bentleys now on track, because we missed them in the preseason event, because none of the drivers on the Bentley Continental joined for that event last Sunday. So, but now they're there.
You know which one, so I can like switch to them? I'm not sure which of them is driving a Bentley.
I can check this for you quite in just a minute.
Here we see Christoph Müller with his beautiful livery, I know, and he's doing some advertising for his website on the front and the sides. It's like he has a website where you can determine which is the right Linux distribution for you. It's distro chooser, and he's taking his advertising very seriously. And he put it on his car, and I found that funny.
Yeah, nice idea to use that sim racing for actually some advertising. That's okay. I think Marcelo Tocco on 8th position currently. He should drive a Bentley. Yeah, there he is. He's for Cold Fox backup squad. Maybe some explanation to that. So we have a Cold Fox Racing division. On McLaren, that's Matthias McKenzie and Christoph Müller. And Marcelo Tocco together with Niklas Propatnik, they are both on Bentley for the Cold Fox backup squad. And Cold Fox Arts, that's the small company that's responsible for the nice overlays we have, or the nice posters. You can always see before the race or in between when you have a short break. And they are also a small company that's currently developing a small platformer video game. So maybe keep an eye on these guys when they come up with their game. Maybe support them. Maybe we still don't know if it might, how funny it would be. They're still developing it, but nice to see they're also into sim racing. And these lap times we see there, most of them I think because of exiting the pits. Fastest lap by Rob Timpen. Oh, we saw that performance by Rob Timpen in the preseason event where he was really strong.
Yeah, he was really fast, and he won both races, and yeah, he had an overall the best the best race, and he started from the first, I think. Yeah, he was on the pole position on both races. Or was it? No, it was Stefan Denecke, I think.
Yeah, I remember it was a McLaren in front.
Yeah, it was Stefan Denecke who was in pole position, so I mistook that. But now there's another one on the first place, climbing up. It's Juan Fran Urano with 24595.
And then one of the Storm racing drivers who joined very late in this series. Kostas Kaludis in his white Chevrolet Corvette. We will see a lot of Corvettes here in this series. A lot of drivers liked it, but we saw in with the race in Suzuka, the preseason event, that some of the drivers had a lot of trouble with this car. Easy to spin out rather than with the AMG Mercedes. That looked like it was a lot more stable on the track. But the Corvette seems to be pretty fast, and if it has a high top speed, that's the perfect car, at least for half of this track. When you're going for the hill up the mountain, Mount Panorama, you can see it here, you just need as much power and top speed ability as possible. The same is a downhill, but up there on the top of the hill with all those mid fast and even slow corners, then the cars with the better handling, they are the better decision. And I think the McLaren should work a bit better up on top of the hill, but then the Corvette will be back with its power. So maybe some back and forth in the positions and in the lap times during one whole lap. Rob Timpen still with the pole, David Haas in third. Then it's Christo Niewood the teammate of Rob Timpen. In fourth, Niklas Pobatnik. Driving
the raceway is the raceway is pretty hard to drive, so I think we will see like lots of mistakes, things that will end up in mistakes, and I think this will be very interesting to watch just how the drivers get along with this very complicated raceway.
Always the walls to the left and right on this track. When you are up on top of the mountain, it almost feels like a street circuit in a city rather than a normal racetrack. One slight mistake and you're already touching the wall, and they set the damage multiplier to 80%, and 80% is quite a lot for rfactor 2. That usually means if you hit the wall slightly too hard, you already lose some parts from the car. And if you're lucky, it's just maybe your rear bumper or something, but if you're unlucky, you lose your rear wing or maybe the front wing, and then there's no more aero on the car, and that means you have to come into the pits. There's no other way. Kostas Kaludis in 7th, stopping his car. Christian Niewood with another try. Coming onto the start and finish straight. And maybe let's take a look on board on this Corvette. From the cockpit view, or like this, that's perfect. Just to take a look on this track, and this seems quite easy. Usually mountain straight, just pushing forward, just up the hill, and then you're coming up to the quarry corner. Long right-hander, slightly some slight banking, but you have to be very careful. If you're too fast, you get to the outside, sliding over the curb, and you easily hit the wall. Through the cutting, fast left-hander, and then into this slow left turn. Just saw there, be careful when you start accelerating, the rear tends to flip out. Griffins Mount already passed through Simon Park, and then this combination of a few left-handers, again very fast, and then we're coming up to Skyline and the S's, and that's one of the really interesting part, like falling down into this right and left chicane, and then it's always right and left and right and left, and it can give you a headache. And if you miss the proper line on this in this situation or in this part of the track, you lose a lot of time, because for the next corner you're in the wrong position, and then you are too slow to this corner, and then you mix up your braking points for the next one, and usually then your lap time is already completely done. And we're already on the way back down the Conrad Straight to that very interesting part, the chase. Hard under braking into this 90-degree left-hander, and there's always someone who tries to overtake. A few can handle it, mostly it ends up in a crash. Sadly, that happens especially a lot in sim racing. And then it's Murray's corner, final corner. We're back on the start-finish straight. And let's see if Christian Niewood makes some improvements to his lap time. No, stays in 4th.
Yeah, I think we will see a few touch-ups on the S's, because it's a pretty hard thing to do, and especially if you're being chased and you have to do everything perfect, you're like doomed to to fail, because there's so much pressure on you that you have to stay cool, and I think we will see a few touch-ups there.
Slight contact with the wall, that's nothing new on Mount Panorama circuit. And David Haas also with his final try, because it's only, if I'm not mistaken, is it 3 minutes or 1 minute? 3 minutes?
It's 3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah, okay, so he has a chance to do one more lap. Mr. Niewood stopped his car after his last lap, so we won't see any more improvement to his lap time. He might be staying in 4th with his 2:04.912 lap time, but there are still some more drivers out there on the track trying to catch him. Maybe get into the second row of the starting grid. and that's it for David Haas. That's what I was talking about in the cutting. That slow left-hander going down usually to second gear, and then you easily start to spin out with all the power on the back of the Corvette. And maybe switch back to the TV cameras and see David Haas. That's just practice now what he's doing. Still exiting the pits. Only 2 more minutes to go, but maybe just try to practice a bit more on top of the hill. And Rob Timpen, the current pole setter, with another try, with another lap time. Can he make it under the 2:04 mark? No. Misses his personal best by more than 0.2 of a second. Stays on top, but there's also, I think, Juan Fran Ruano is still on the track as well. And he just set a new lap time, or no, that was an out lap, so 1 more lap now for him. His last chance to take pole for both races. And it's David Haas in third, no more changes there. Christo Niewood in fourth. He also stopped his car, if I'm not mistaken, and so it's Lukas van der Nest, but he also parked his car. Niklas Probatnik still has a chance. 6th position, but he's about 2.5 of a second behind Lukas van der Nest. Still not clear who will set the final lap times.
And I saw in the background that there's the helicopter, like every rfactor driver that drove on Bathurst can say is pretty annoying, because this helicopter is like every 2 minutes cursing over the raceway, and it's like you hear the helicopter and think, the helicopter again.
Yeah, of course, there's only one route. It's flying all the time, but I think when you're driving, you're focusing on other parts on the track than on a flying helicopter. So that's something I think it doesn't disturbs those drivers too much. But I think Juan Fran Ruano won't be any faster, because that slight mistake he had out of turn 10, sliding into the gravel, and then he had to slow down a lot. So I think he will stay in second. Otherwise, I would be quite surprised where he got that speed. A bit too wide in Murray's corner. No, more than a second slower because of that slight mistake. So who's still driving? Christo Niewood, but I think he's on an out lap. And there's Niklas Probatnik, and that's his final chance to set 1 more lap time. Coming onto the straight finish, and then over the line and up to 5th. Passes Lukas van der Nest and takes 1 more position in this qualifying run. Christo Niewood in the back, just slowing down, and then it's Linus Lundvall. We already saw him in the preseason event on his Mercedes AMG GT3, and that was also a slight mistake. I'm glad to see that these drivers are quite close together. So we have Rob Timpen down to Nathan van der Nest. They are within 2 seconds, and that's not that much on Mount Panorama. Usually you have, in other series, you have a lot more difference. So you can see Nick Dewitt.
And this will be no time.
No more lap time. Yeah, some slight mistake out of the chase. And I think that's it with the qualifying run.
Yeah, no one's on the track, and I think we will see the first race shortly.
I hope so. Before that 5-minute qualifying. But I'm looking forward to that race start, especially with those drivers we haven't seen in the first race in that preseason event. This time it's 24 drivers, so it's a bit sad. 8 drivers not participating tonight, but with Marius van Wyk, we saw him the event. But Dirk Carnard, and that's pretty interesting because I know Dirk Carnard from former race RFactor series from a long time back. I think a few years it's been so far until I saw him racing the last time. So it's nice to see him again, that he's still into sim racing. He will start from 18th position. Was 0.3 of a second behind Oscar Koenen.
And here we see the warm-up going on. It's like, now we have 5 minutes warm-up to go, and then there is the start, and yeah, I'm very interested and very excited to see what they will come up with.
Yeah, I'll just check the weather again, if there might be some rain coming up, but no, currently we have about 20 degrees Celsius and some cloudy conditions. So that means the track is not too hot, maybe even ideal conditions for the drivers. So the track should be about like 30 or 35 degrees, air then temperature 20 degrees. Quite cold actually for Mount Panorama circuit race in Bathurst. But I think it's perfect for the tires especially, so there won't be any problems to make it through those 30-minute races without any tire problems.
So what's a disastrous situation for a race to start? What are the factors that will lead to a catastrophic race?
Interesting question. The first corner, interestingly, its name is Hell Corner. Though a lot of people say it has nothing to do with the difficulty for the drivers at the start, but I'm not sure about that. So the first corner you have that gravel and grass on the outside usually, but everyone tries to avoid that. So if you're going wide outside of that first turn, because you maybe have to leave the gap open on the inside because someone tries to pass you right at the start, then often some drivers are too hard on the throttle and then they end up on that curb on the outside and the car starts to spin to the left, and yeah, sadly on the left side there are most of the other drivers, and that's something that's the big problem at the race start. It won't be that much of a problem when it comes to speed because we have a standing start, so at least these drivers won't end up braking into the first corner with already a lot of speed. But the start, of course, is crucial. Standing start, so you have to work with the clutch a lot. You have to be careful on the throttle, shifting up into second gear if you're not careful with these cars. Even though they have traction control, it can happen that your car spins to the left or right just by shifting up with all the power on the rear wheels. I think that's the crucial part, the standing start and the first corner, and then up the hill usually the things are sorted out, so everyone sees who's faster, they hold back. Sometimes you see some fights in this second corner where we saw now Nathan van der Nest with this black and orange McLaren. Sometimes you see some attacking in this corner, but after that everyone usually starts to get in line, so to speak. And then they will wait for another move until they come onto that second long straight onto the Conrad straight. By the way, one of the fastest straights in motorsports in general, because it's downhill. Usually very well known for the 24 hours of Bathurst and of course the Aussie, the V8 supercars, and these cars even reach up to 300 kilometers an hour when they are getting into braking into the chase. So when you see an accident there, when they miss that right kink, that's very fast slide right-hander, then they start to spin and end up in the gravel. Usually you are completely lost. Cars are starting to flip over and roll over. That won't happen here tonight, I think, because that gravel it usually not tends to let the cars that they stuck into it, even when they are sliding maybe like 90 degrees in the wrong direction. In reality, in the gravel pits, you always get stuck and then the car flips over. There's only sliding, but the problem is everyone else in front of you is just going through this chicane, and when you're sliding and just like watching how you are ending up maybe in the back of some other driver. And here you can see what the drivers are doing during the warm-up, just trying the testing the standing start. Well, that's what I was expecting from Nathan van den Est. He didn't do it.
And what's worse? Is it worse to have a cold track, or is it worse to have a very hot track?
Well, it depends on which tire is working properly. If you have a hot track, but the hard tires are working very good because they get on the right temperature, then the hot track is better than the cold track, because now you can say it in general, because it really depends on the tire and temperature combination. There are temperatures where the medium tires get too hot and the hard tires stay too cold. That's when you have a problem, or that's the same for the soft and medium tires. But I think considering the grip, they hope for temperatures where the medium tires work best, or maybe even the soft, because the grip is always better. With the hard tires, of course, even though they stay on the right temperature, it's a harder compound. That means you're sliding a bit more. So I guess they usually hope for colder temperatures, but not too cold, because you try to get the mostly softer tires to work properly. And I think with the temperatures we have here, I think they are using for a 30-minute race maybe medium tires. We can't see it from the outside, sadly, what tires are on these cars at the moment, but I think it will be soft or medium, but definitely not hard tires.
So in warm-up they are like warming up the tires, but are these heat values transferred to the start then, or how's that handled in rfactor?
I'm actually not sure how they did it with it's something you can switch. That's in the options you do for this server, but I think they will all have the same temperature when they are starting. I don't know which temperature they have exactly on these tires when they're getting in the starting position, but well, we'll have to see, because I think everyone has the same conditions, same temperature on the tires. How good this works with the standing start, that's something we have to wait for. See if we have a lot of wheel spin, or if everyone gets away, just gets the start or good away from the start. We'll see. I'm not sure actually, and it depends from the track. Sometimes the of course the tarmac is also different, and usually that's also put into the simulation, because there are racetracks that have a quite good grip, a really grippy track, or some where it's a bit different. You can see that when you are very good example is the Nordschleife. You usually have a lot more grip on the GP track rather than on the normal Nordschleife. But now let's see how fast everyone gets into the starting positions for this first race.
So now we're live. The camera is a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm afraid there is no other TV camera we have currently. Well, this is the pole sitter, Rob Timpin, next to him Juan Fran Rano in his McLaren. Behind him there should be David Haas, and we're off already. This is the start. David Haas with a very good start. He tries to push through between Juan Fran and Rob Timpin, but there's too much contact and Rob Timpin stays in front. But David Haas, that was a lot of contact, bit too much in my opinion, but we will come to that later. Rob Timpin stays in front easily after that slight collision between David Haas and Juan Fran Rano. And David Haas takes second position. Minus van der Wied, he is in fourth fourth behind him. There's David Haas under pressure now by Juan Fran. When I think Haas was going wide in the turn 2, but can he cover it up? Yeah, he stays in second. Behind then Mikos van den Est. We have Christian Niewood in the next Corvette, and then there's the Bentley by Nicolas Popatnik, that's the white way. Kostas Kaludis in the next white Corvette behind him. So nice mixture of Corvette, McLaren and Bentley here in the first few positions. But I'm not sure what Juan Fran will tell David Haas after that attack move right at the start. He started very, very good with this white and black Corvette, but that was a bit too eager fighting for a position.
Yeah, there was a lot of contact, and I think that's a bit unfair. What he did there, he just pushed himself through, and that I don't think that's pretty fair. So
yeah, maybe we will see after this first round, maybe in the first protest, we will see what Juan Fran will do. Maybe he has a chance with this McLaren to attack David Haas. Maybe there's already the first move in second and third. We have to go there, and there's the spin by Juan Fran. Spinning out, and he avoids contact with all the other drivers, just makes it somehow to slow down the car before he runs right into traffic. But I think that's the first thing for our replay. Just one time press R live and then we try it again. I think that's what we have to do now. Christian Niewood, and there we see it, and just he was braking too late. There you can see, that was the move. A few car lengths back behind David Haas. He tries it under braking way too late. And then he tried somehow to catch that car before it tries to start spinning. And here, very, very lucky situation for Nicolas Popatnik in his yellow Bentley, and avoiding that crash.
One did DNF already.
Oh, yeah, there's another crash in turn 2, and that's Björn Wahlmeier and I think Stefan Dänicke. I have to take a look at that. Position 11.
So much going on. I can't find it.
Maybe a position loss by. We have already a pit by Marcelo Tocco, sorry. Maybe. Can I just try to find it?
Yeah, you can try. Now it will be easier.
Maybe it will be easier, yeah. Some crazy stuff going on currently, but I think I had it. Yeah, I think I had it, but we have some... that's something we have to turn off. Because I definitely want to see what happened there. So that's Stefan Dänicke on the left, and then Björn Wahlmeier in the grey Corvette, and they are both turning into Quarry, and then that slide contact. He touches Dänicke. Dänicke starts to slide and hits exactly the one who hit him in the back, and so both spun out. Very dangerous situation there, and Björn Wahlmeier just got towed into the pits and is already out. And Daniel Christoph, he was also one of the drivers who, for unknown reasons, ended up in the pits very soon. Just give me a second, please. You want to check for... yeah, maybe let's try to find out what happened to Daniel Christoph, and there we stay on track and we see what's going on here. So Rob Timpen in the lead, easily in front of David Haas. We see some parts lying down the track, and that's the reason for Daniel Christoph. What happened there? Oh, there was a lot. There was even... Holy moly, what happened there? We didn't saw that because of the fight in front. And that's something maybe we should see in slow motion, because there was a contact with one of the other Bentleys. And then there. So under braking, two together, that's... that Mackenzie, and there's still that McLaren, and he hit the other one. That's when it happened, and slammed it into the back. Oh, what a heavy crash, heavy impact into the wall. So that's the Colt Fox backup car. Crashed into the wall, and then the car just jumped up. We're very lucky for a lot of other drivers that the car didn't flip back into traffic, but there's that Corvette. Oh my god. What a huge accident, and a lot of drivers already stopped the car there. Whoa. Haven't seen that in a while, even in Bathurst.
And we have an off-track and did not finish from Marcelo Tocco.
Yeah, that was that yellow Bentley that crashed already in that first crash, and now he's with another problem. Oh, and he hit the wall very heavy there. You see that, very hard. And then sliding into the gravel, and then again. It looks like a lot of damage to that car, even though we can't see it from the outside, and that's the reason why he is out of the race as well. So it's a bit tough now to figure out who was also involved in that first huge crash. I think it was the teammate of David Haas who also was involved in that collision, because where is Oscar Köhn? He's in 15th. I think that fits that accident.
I think everything after 11th place was part of the commotion on the corner, because they are all 11 seconds and behind.
Yeah, so maybe let's check these drivers. Let's take a look from Stefan Dänicke, maybe just short through the field. So that's Dänicke. We saw that problem, that collision with Wahlmeier in the second corner. Then it's Christoph Müller, then Costas Kansuas in the next McLaren. There's Marco Caglio, and I think he was one of the drivers who had to slow down. Oscar Köhnen, he was the one who also spun out after that collision where he couldn't do anything, just got touched by one of the sliding McLarens. Oscar Köhnen right behind Marco Caglio, so maybe there we will see a fight for position soon. Matthias Mackenzie in the next McLaren. A slight mistake here in the cutting, hitting the wall, but luckily no part loss on the car. Jürgen Wahlmeier, he also had to slow down because of that early crash. Then it's Nick de Witt in 18th, also one of the guys who was slowing down. And yeah, I think that was Marius van Beek. He was the one who was had been turned around. It's a bit tough because the design on this car is nearly the same than on the car of Oscar Köhnen, though they are different teams. I'm sorry that I mixed that one up. Yeah, Marcelo Tocco is out, and now Matthias Mackenzie also out of the race.
Oh,
and that's at McLaren, and he's missing his rear wing. Oh, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunate crash here on top of the hill, and then he just put his car down into the pits, because that was a spot here where he was standing. He realized even if he tries to somehow get back in line with the car, I don't think that would have worked. Sooner or later he would have been hit by another car. I got some that's the question in the stream. Surprised that the race already started, so that it's 7 p.m. Well, it's on German time, so I don't think it's GMT, but it's GMT +2 currently. Not mistaken.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's... Oof. I don't know exactly, but it's Central European time, so...
Central European time, so we are CET and not GMT. So that might be the reason. Now Mike Lyra is still in 20th position, so I don't know what happened there, but he's a lap behind obviously, because he didn't pass Matthias Mackenzie, and Mackenzie is out of the race and in the pits.
Ah, it's GMT +1.
GMT +1, okay. Maybe we can switch to Juan Franruano in 9th position, because he's chasing Thomas Andrea Miharisoa, and yeah, I definitely think I know how to spell that name.
Yes, you got it pretty well.
After all that race action we saw a week ago in Suzuka that was all taking place just around the car of Andrea Miaisoa. So I don't have any more trouble with that name. And he is chased by Juan Fran who was involved in that early crash. But the car is still going. This one, the nest. And I don't know if we are in a replay at the moment, because is that...
Oh!
Yeah, I think we were in a replay because Christo Niebuhr was behind him and now he's in front, so that's the right situation now. Yeah, I know of that problem. If there's no... if you don't see any thing in our overlay that says replay, it easily happens that you're not getting out of replay but still stay in the live view. And Mike Lyra isn't setting any more lap times, so something is wrong there.
Your car not too?
Yeah, also with no race start now. That's a bit strange.
Oh.
Oh, and
hit the wall pretty hard.
But it still somehow works with these cars. Not that much of a damage to them. So you have to hit the wall from a very bad position, so you lose parts of your car. We saw that with Matthias Mackenzie. Sliding with the back into the wall, then you lose your rear wing. That happens easily. Oh, what's going on there? That's Niklas Propatnik with the Bentley in the back fighting Kostas Kaloudis in the 5th and 6th, and I think Kaloudis passed him. 6th and 7th position, but we will see the fight for 9th first. Thomas Andrea Miaisoa, and that's a very brave move there by Juan Fran Juano, and he's slowing down because he realized that was not a fair move. Way too aggressive and pushing the AMG driver off the road. And he let him pass again. So nice to see that gentleman's agreement by Juan Fran Juano. And that brought Linus Lundvall into the race again, the teammate of Thomas Andrea Miaisoa from the Seawolf Racing team. So now Juan Fran Juano in the Seawolf sandwich. So to
now
speak.
we see Marco Cargio coming back from the pit. And Mike Lyra has the time again, and he's pretty far behind.
Huge gaps there, some of the drivers, and that's a lot for Mike Lyra, but he's still driving and he will get some points, and that's the important thing for him. Maybe even a few points in the end might be worth of gold in the end of this season, because the Winter Challenge, it's not too long. It's not like we have 8 or 10 races. It's just 6 races for the GT3 Winter Challenge. And there is the mistake by Thomas Andrea Miaisoa hitting the wall, and Juan Fran Juano hits him in the back also slightly. So very, very difficult for Andrea Miaisoa to slow down that AMG, and he also hit the wall on the right side of the car. And now there's the attack move by Juan Fran Juano, and he is now on the outside for the chase, but he makes the move and he's through. The Storm Racing driver on his McLaren takes 8th position with a nice move on the inside through that very fast right kink. Nice to see that Thomas Andrea Miaisoa slowed down a little bit, so not driving next to each other through that very fast right-hander, because usually that goes wrong. Either there's some touching or one of the drivers gets off track.
So and now I'm back. My headset died, and I had to switch headsets.
Yeah, I was wondering what that strange noises were in between. But okay, good that you have another headset flying around and everything works out. Here's the fight for 12th position. That's Costas Kansuras from Storm Racing, chased by Christoph Müller. German driver from from the Cold Fox Racing division. There's still some parts lying on the track here into turn 2. Now it's heading for the cutting again. I'm not that surprised that we have quite a lot of huge gaps between the drivers now on this track. After a bit more of half the race is done now. More than 5 seconds between Rob Timpen and David Haas. Mr. Niewood more than 3 seconds behind, almost 2 seconds difference down to Vikus van der Nest, and there is the spin and accident by Costas Kansuras. Oh, Christoph Müller also taking the emergency part of the Skyline chicane. I think he's also spinning. Yeah, Christoph Müller also with problems. Here we can see he's reversing and trying to get the car back in line. Oh, and there's some big damage on Costas Kansuras.
So much going on right now.
He spun out and hit the wall, I think, on the front left. We couldn't see that right now. And then you can see Christoph Müller slowing down, and he has to take that emergency road. And then you can see the car just spinning around. The rear is spinning, and because of our camera position, we can't see the end result of this, but we can see it in our list. He dropped down to 13th position now. And Costas Kansuras is out of the race. Maybe we cannot try to get that accident again. No, you're right. Just let it go, and let's see, because he lost the back of his car, I think, and then hit the wall with the front, and I think he lost his front left tire. Should have been this turn now. Yeah, he hit the curb slightly, and then losing the back of the car, hit the wall with the front left, and then spinning to the opposite into the gravel pits, and he and again into the wall. There wasn't much to do for him. So this is the end of the first race now for the Storm Racing driver. Costas Kansuras is out, and Bathurst again finds its victims during already the first race. I think a lot of the drivers are happy that there will be another one, and the racing evening is not over yet.
And now Juan Fran Rano is taking positions back after he lost positions, I think.
Yeah, he was in 8th already, and then he dropped down behind the two Seawolf racing cars again. He was ahead of Thomas Andrea Miaisoa after that move in the chase, and now he dropped down to 10th again. So there must have been another mistake by Juan Fran Rano. Tough to tell what happened there now, but he's definitely dropped back to the end of the top 10. Now trying to use the slipstream against Linus Lundvall, and he's trying to make the same move as he did against Thomas Andrea Miaisoa, but this time Linus Lundvall didn't want to play along. But still, Juan Fran Rano touching the grass there slightly, but he makes it up to 9th position at his favorite part of the track. But Linus Lundvall with the counter attack, but that was a close one. Juan Fran Rano defending here, and now he's definitely up to 9th position, but he's missing some consistency in his laps currently, I think.
And there's currently no time for Nick de Witt, and he has an off track. Maybe we switch to that.
De Witt now in last position of all the still going drivers, but
he was on the grass and lost.
Yeah, and he I think that was David Haas who he let pass. So that's maybe the reason, but Nick Divitt in 17th. But let's take a look here. Stefan Dänicke. That's a lap car. I think that's the car of Jürgen Wahlmeier from the R. Oh, I don't know what that was. That grey and red Corvette.
Yeah, it should be Jürgen Wahlmeier because Björn Wahlmeier is out. So it's a bit easier to tell.
Oh, it's Marius van Wyk. Oh, and there's a slight mistake by Linus Lundvall. We saw that already
On
by
Christoph
Müller. But luckily, Linus Lundvall has the ability, or had the ability to catch that AMG again.
Normally you would get punished for doing the emergency exit, aren't you?
Yeah, you should, and you see he slowed down and he let Juan Franrano pass. So I think he realized
let Stefan Dänicke pass.
Ah, it was Stefan Dänicke. Huh? Sorry, Juan Franrano was already in the front. Now Stefan Dänicke is through. Thank you, Ms. Lundvall. Yeah, very fair gesture here, by him. Realized that that was an unfair move. Just going straight through that chicane. Now letting Stefan Dänicke pass. And then it's a huge gap between Jonas Lundvall and Oskar Köhnen, talking about 12 seconds there. And that's a lot.
Yeah, we see a lot of differences because of the big crash going on in like one of the first rounds. And so this field is divided in two halves that are now trying their own races.
Yeah, there's a cut down to 12th position to Oskar Köhnen.
But Oskar Köhnen is like 12 seconds in front of Christoph Müller after his crash, and there's like two halves and Oskar Köhnen in the middle of it.
So at least he might have some easy last 7 minutes in this first race. So just concentrating on the track, on the proper racing line, and no one in front or in the back of him he has to be careful of at the moment. Oh, and some sliding by Stefan Dänicke here also. We saw that with Kostas Kantsuras, and that ended his race, so he has to be very careful. Looks like those cars, especially the Corvettes and McLarens, are very sensitive when they end up on a curb with the rear outside tire. Haven't seen much problems for the Mercedes AMG drivers at the moment. That was the same in Suzuka. So I hope maybe after that race we get some, or after this first round, we get some information by the drivers if it's just a thing considering the setups on the car, or if it is really something that has to do with the car itself. Because sometimes it's just how you set up your car, and maybe you set it, want it more stable or you want it more fast. That's always the thing you have to figure out. And now it's Kostas Kaloudis out of the race. What happened there? We maybe checked the replay of Kostas Kaloudis dropping down from 11th. So that's breaking down into the chase. And then just slowing down. Very slow, slower, and maybe a misshift in his car and his engine broke down or something, or maybe he not enough fuel, something like that. But unclear what happened there. Kostas Kaloudis out of the race, and it's Jürgen Wahlmeier under pressure by Christoph Müller, or maybe the other way around. I think Jürgen Wahlmeier was behind Christoph Müller for about 2 seconds behind him, but now he passed the McLaren driver.
Yes.
So probably Christoph Müller has some damage to the car after his spin, and maybe that cost him some speed on the straight line. That's the reason why Jürgen Wahlmeier made the pass and is now up to 12th position. That's Niklas Pobatnik.
Lost one position to Nathan van der Nest.
And that means the two Nest drivers, I think they are brothers, if I'm not mistaken. Now in 4th and 5th. Now looks like a pretty good team result for this first race if they could bring it through on 4 and 5, because Rob Timpen would be even a better result for the Awesome Racing team with Rob Timpen and Christo Niewood in 1st and 3rd. And the two Nest drivers, Mikus van der Nest and Nathan van der Nest. Niklas Popatnik, fastest Bentley driver on the track currently.
I think the Bentley is not the fastest, but it's lying on the track like a stone. So they don't have as much problems on the curbs as the other cars. Because the handling of this car is pretty stiff and pretty good, especially on curbs.
Especially the car is pretty huge, but
Yeah.
the interesting part is they made some comparisons to the BMW M6 and what's going on there. Oskar Köhnen in the pits for unknown reasons, and that means Jürgen Wahlmeier now in 11th and Christoph Müller in 12th. Not sure what happened there, but the BMW M6 is even larger than the Bentley. So the wheelbase is even longer than the Bentley Continental. So it's weird to see that different sizes of the car, but with the balance of performance, it somehow still works.
And we have something going on with Juan Fran Buseo. He was very low and got overtaken, and now he's got in DNF.
Yeah, and you can see why. What an impact into the wall out of Skyline. You see that car is only going straight and no more turning there, and that is frustrating. Only 2 more minutes to go, and now even Juan Franjuano is out, and that means Jürgen Wahlmeier might end up in 10th position at the end of this race. Yes, Christoph Müller now in 11th. That's that first race for Storm Racing, because that means he and his teammate Kostas Kansouras are both out in their first race in the GT3 Winter Challenge. Christo Niewood, and that's the car by Nick de Witt. Lapping the other Corvette driver. No problems there. In the back we can see Lukas van der Nest, the orange McLaren. I think there will be some discussion about it between Daniel Christoph and Lukas van der Nest because of that collision in turn 2 in the first lap.
Are the cars really flying in Bathurst? You see them going off the track downhill. Is this really happening?
No, that's some connection issues. You shouldn't forget we have drivers from all over the world here, and not everyone has a really perfect internet connection. So sometimes the car look like they are flying, but you definitely don't lose contact on the road with these very aerodynamic GT3 cars. Maybe
and now we see that Stefan Denecke was overtaken by Jürgen Wahlmeier and Christoph Müller here. He's pretty slow.
Yeah, looks strange. Maybe he had some contact with the wall. Also some trouble steering the car in general.
Yes, he had an off track. Maybe we'll look it up.
Yeah. Going down Conrad Straight, braking down into the chase. And he missed the braking spot and ended up on the grass, and then just running through the gravel, and there's not that gravel is not much slowing down anyone.
Wow.
And that was an unfortunate hit. I don't think he will come into the pits now because we are near the end of the race. I think one more lap for Rob Timpen and then that's it for race number 1. One more run over this very famous hill, famous mountain.
And there's a fight going on between Christoph Müller and Jürgen Wallmeier, like two laps.
Yeah, I wonder what's the problem with Christoph Müller, because he was in front, he had that spin, and something must have happened to his car, because he was definitely faster before that slight accident. And he has a lot of trouble finding a way past Jürgen Wallmeier. I'm mixing names up now. Christoph Müller and Jürgen Wallmeier, of course. Wallmeier with some slight mistake, touching the grass there outside of Hell Corner, and that is maybe the last chance for Christoph Müller to make a move. But you can see that in the slipstream.
And we have another did not finish by David.
Yeah, Nick David out of the race. That's the final lap by him for him. And maybe, yeah, he slowed down. Oh, I'm afraid Nick David missed it, that there's one more lap for him. But I think Rob Timpen, is he through now?
Yes.
Yes,
the
he's
first
through.
4 drivers are through.
So congratulations, Rob Timpen, with the first victory here in the official season now. He won both races in the preseason event on Suzuka, and he finished he still continues where he started. Rob Timpen with a with a victory here in race number 1 in Bathurst for the GT3 Winter Challenge. Then it's Thomas Andrea Miaisoa now coming up for the start-finish line, ending up in 7th behind Niklas Popatnik. David Haas in 2nd, Christo Niewood in 3rd, so nearly perfect result for the Awesome Racing drivers in 1st and 3rd. Vikus van der Nest and Nathan van der Nest for the Nest Racing team in 5th and 6th. Then we had Thomas Andrea Miaisoa and Niklas Popatnik, and it's Linus Lundvall, the teammate of Thomas Andrea Miaisoa from Seawolf Racing, the 2 AMG drivers in 7th and 8th. And then it's Jürgen Wallmeier still defending against Christoph Müller down the final corner, Murray's corner. But I think, no, Christoph Müller tries to make the move, but slowing down because Wallmeier closed the door in the final corner and takes 9th position ahead of Christoph Müller. Stefan Dänicke already parked the car because he was 1 lap down, obviously, and now in 11th, Marius van Wyk. Still driving, if I'm not mistaken. Is he still going in 12th position ahead of Oscar Koenen? No, Martin van Wyk also in the pits. There's Oscar Koenen, Marco Caglio, and then it's Mike Lyra, the last driver finishing in this first race. So we lost nearly 10 drivers in race number 1. So hopefully everyone learned a little bit for race number 2. Maybe to be a bit more careful. Maybe we will see some fights for the lead, because it didn't look like David Haas had much of a chance to chase Rob Timpen in race number 1.
And I think now we're going to take a short break and we'll be there for the next race.
Yeah, short break, maybe some overview what happened in the preseason race, then just see you in about a few minutes.
The Summer Cup stay in RF2-Racingleague, but we also have lots of new teams for the new season. 32 drivers signed up in 19 teams from 13 nations all over the world. The most popular new teams are Lusitanium, Sim Racing, ACR Zackspeed, Trollerbull and a few more. The laxative driver Stefan Dänicke had pole position in Suzuka. Can he do it again in Bathurst? Georg Walz and Dirk Garnert are celebrating a 5-year anniversary of NetRace Motorsport. If they stay cool and concentrated, they can finish in the top 10. In the kart world team we have a comeback of Mike Lyra. Lyra is experienced in real kart racing, And a new face in RF2 Racing League is Marius van Wyk. A very experienced endurance driver wants to take the challenge of a sprint race. Cold Fox has even two teams in the grid. The experienced Niklas Pobatnik and Marcello Tocco can surprise a bit the front runners. For the second Cold Fox team only counts race finishes. Father and son in Wallmeyer GT team. While Jürgen crashed in the pre-season race, Björn managed second position. The Seaboard Racing team wants to earn his first race win in the league. Linus and Thomas are quick. Let's see if they can win the team championship again. AFSIM driver Christo Newwood wants to defend his title. While Rob Timben won the last races, he will put him under huge pressure. The first race of the season, now.
Welcome back, everybody. We had a bit longer break because the server crashed. So sorry because of that, but sometimes it happens. But everything is running fine now again, and we are in the last few minutes of warm-up for race number 2.
Our overlay just broke again. So after the restart of the server, our overlay has some issues resetting itself.
Maybe it's because they're still fixing the starting positions for the second race, and that's why our overlay is always changing. But we will wait, I think, just before the start of the race, and I hope then it will work. Or we'll do some reconnect maybe, but not that important currently for this race. And we have some drivers that joined us now that were missing for the first race. A bit more hopefully than going on in race number 2, and I think, if I'm not mistaken,
one of them is Hilario. Is it Hilario? Souza?
Yeah.
And we have Ricardo Ferreira, which is new, and there's... That's it. Hilario Souza and Ricardo Ferreira are newly joined into the game.
Yeah, that's the two Lusitanium sim racing drivers on their Bentleys. And if I'm not mistaken, they beginning they chose a different car, so I'm a bit surprised why we see that those Bentleys. Okay, the two Portuguese drivers, they hadn't chosen the car so far, but so they decided it for obviously quite short before this race which car they want to take, and they are driving the Bentley, and I think that's the basic skin on the car, so the basic paint job they put on it, so no team design or something, just the design, you know, from the real GT3 races.
Ricardo Ferreira is driving the Mercedes AMG, whilst Hilario Souza is driving the Bentley.
That's all.
He wrote that in the YouTube chat as well. And yeah, he said that he will drive the McLaren.
Ah, okay, I see. So, just maybe try to turn on the overlay once more. Maybe we can see how long it still goes. 14 seconds, the warm-up, and then we'll switch to the race session. Maybe will stay with us now, that overlay. I hope so.
My fingers on the overlay button so I can turn it on.
Of course, Hilario Souza as well as Ricardo Ferreira, they are now trying to drive some more laps to get a bit of practice, a feeling for the track, feeling for the car now. Be at least a bit competitive against the other drivers that already had their first race, and of course they are warm, they're in that racing groove, and that's something you have to get into. It takes a bit of time, and when you just join the server and you know you have 5 minutes and then you are getting right into the race, that's a bit difficult.
Yeah, I hope they trained a bit before they came on the server, but yeah, it's even though it's pretty hard to compete with players that like did a training and a qualifying and a warm-up and a race, they know a bit of the dynamics going on the other drivers. They have seen what the other drivers drive like, and I think it's a negative thing to come to the second race and it's harder to compete.
Well, as far as I could see, there was some pretty good movement of the car by Hilario Sousa. He definitely knows the track. Looked really quick through the S's, so I'm curious what lap time we might see if this warm-up still keeps going until the last one who's driving is over the start-finish line. Oh no, and he's coming into the pits. Yeah. That's sad because I hope to see what he's capable of. Maybe trying practice the pit stop for unknown reasons, because usually you shouldn't do a pit stop in a 30-minute race. So I just checked where will the drivers start now for this race. I think we will have after that qualifying, so Rob Timpen will start from first position again. Juan Franuano, who dropped out of the race after that accident, from second. David Haas third. Christo Niewood from fourth. Niklas Popatnik in the Bentley will be starting from fifth again, as Vikas van den Est from sixth. Stefan Dänicke from seventh. Kostas Kaloudis eighth. Thomas Andriamiai-Sauer from 9th, Daniel Christoph from 10th, who didn't finish the first race. Björn Wallmeier from 11th, Linus Lundvall 12th. Nathan van den Est from 13th. By the way, that was a pretty good job he did in that first race, because he started from 13th and ended up on 6th. So quite a good move up in the ranking for him. Mike Lyra will start from 14th. In front of Marcelo Tocco. Kostas Kantsuras from 16th, Oskar Köhn 17th, Dirk Karnat from 18th, Christoph Müller 19th, Nick de Witt 20th position, Jürgen Wallmeier from 21st, and then it's Marco Caglio, Matthias McKenzie and Marius van Wyk, who didn't set a lap time, and then of course they will also followed now by Hilario Sousa and Ricardo Ferreira, that both joined on the server for this second race. And now it's warm-up again, so probably some settings on the server are still not quite correct. Or maybe they are now correct and they had to restart the session. So maybe 5 more minutes for the two drivers that joined late into this event. Do some more driving on this track before the race starts. Looking forward to that. Or maybe we will skip the session and get right into the race now in the next few minutes, because we are already behind for about 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we are like, yeah, it's exactly 20 minutes.
Maybe for some of the drivers that have to go to work early tomorrow, getting a bit late. And our overlays are again not working as it should, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's like resetting every 20-30 seconds.
Maybe let me take a look. Maybe we just restart it for.
Yeah.
Or you can do it, of course. Much of a deal.
What?
I know what's happening. I think there's the control button on the keyboard somehow is pressed. So maybe just keep it pressed when you start, or no.
Nope.
I have an idea. May I? No. No.
Okay.
Okay, it's already connected.
What's that magic you're doing?
Okay, so now there's our overlay. I just hope now it will work properly. No, it didn't. Now it's already going away again. Strange.
may get wrong times and then reset because of wrong values getting pumped into our program.
Well, we'll see. Just wait. Oh, so someone is working on our PC right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I pressed my mute button because I had to cough a little, but it was going crazy because I pressed the wrong button, and I was like, sound muted, sound resumed. Oh god, oh god. And this brought up NVIDIA experience, or what this bullshit is named.
Well, somehow you, I think, fixed the overlay problem while doing this, so please don't cough anymore and press some mute buttons. Would be helpful for us, and let's just hope we will get into the race session now soon. There's a question in the YouTube chat, is that the Apex mod or the Sector 397, so from the original rfactor 2 developer. It's the original rfactor 2 developer as Studio 397 version of the GT3 cars, so no modification. That's the cars you get from the GT3 pack.
And I see we're now in pre-practice.
Yeah, something is going
very wrong.
Completely strange right now, so somehow they don't find a way to fix that positioning problem, I think. Because you have to do that manually now. That's the problem when the server crashed, because usually it would just pick up the qualifying results again and just start a second race. But now, because we had a server crash, all the positions for race number 2 have to set manually, and obviously this causes some problems at the moment. That's why we have to wait longer now, and that means more time to practice for the drivers, but I don't think they welcome it too much. Depends on where you live now, but it's 8:30 p.m. now here in Germany. Or let's say Central Europe.
Yeah, Central European time.
So maybe your girlfriend or your wife is already waiting and saying, you said it will be over before 9 p.m. and then you realize, okay, that won't work out anymore. It will be after 9 p.m. Or maybe you have to work early. Who knows, 5 a.m. or something like that, and then you try to get some more sleep. That doesn't work out.
I've got both of that. I've got to get up 5:30, and yeah, I've got my girlfriend out. she's drinking with friends, and so I've got some silence going on and not laughter in the background this last week.
Okay, so at least only one of the problems occurred to you now with the getting up early. I'm quite lucky because I'm working quite late tomorrow, so that's not a problem for me. But still, of course, for all you viewers, it's I'm afraid maybe a bit annoying too that we won't see any race action currently. Qualification started again, now 15 minutes, so I'm not sure if they just will make a second qualifying or if they just use the qualifying session now for putting everyone in place and then switch to the race session. Now we are in warm-up. Qualification session passed. Please still have some patience. I'm just reading in the YouTube chat that it's good without modifications. Yeah, I have to say I'm also someone who doesn't like to mod games in a huge way. It's a bit different with sim racing because putting a car into a simulation and then taking it out if it's not no good because of the quality or something, that's not a big deal. But with other games, I'm somehow one of those fans of vanilla games. Everyone's coming up with those big role-play games and so on. Oh, you have to check this mod and you have to check this mod, but usually it screws up in the balance. That's not what happens to sim racing usually, but of course, even any change to the game however, whatever it is, if it's just a car or a track, every change to a game usually opens up another possibility for the game to crash. Oh.
I've got just one game that I model till it breaks. This is Factorio, which is a pretty cool industrial building game, and I like that pretty much. And after quite a few time and hundreds of hours, you get a bit tired of the normal gameplay. Then you start modding it, and it's like, oh shit, you can so hardly increase your fun by modding it. And this is the only game I mod.
Yeah, of course. It's often so that you get a lot of fun out of it. Usually, I think the fun out of it in the first place, but often you realized after a while that if you like playing a role-play game, that one weapon you thought is pretty cool, you realize it's maybe way too strong and makes the game too easy and things like this. But I also know from those building strategy games like RimWorld or something that you can greatly increase the fun in the game by using mods, and there are a lot of mods, but I have the game actually, but still couldn't find the time to put some effort in it because I think it takes a lot of time until you're really in. And now we restarted the server. I guess you saw that, everybody. So bigger problems than expected, I'm afraid.
So I'll transition to back shortly to this.
Yeah. So I think we will take another short break. So I hope you stay with us, and we will try to figure out if we will see some more racing or if there will be a second qualifying or something like that to get around those problems, and then we will back hopefully with that second race.
So, and we're back on the track of Bathurst. Now, there was a little qualifying set up to be just 5 minutes so that the race can be started again. And we're now thrilled to see the second race.
Yeah, we had somehow to manage the positions for the second race, of course. We had that qualifying session before the first one, and that qualifying was also setting the positions for race number 2. And because of the server crash, of course, we had somehow to manage it now to get those positions right. And after a few server restarts, now they used the qualifying session. That this hopefully works out now when we are switching into the race session. I'm a bit curious, I'm wondering, because now some of the drivers were out setting a lap time, even though there's no real qualification session. I hope this doesn't mix up the times and positions again, now with some drivers having set a lap time. But, well, let's just wait a few seconds.
We'll see.
Done. Yeah, and you can see that some of the drivers are using it for a short practice session. Well, in looking to the other drivers and maybe looking forward to see a second race, maybe it would be nice if they just stop their car now and just go on with the next session. But on the other hand, I can understand when they just try to drive another lap, no matter if it counts for the qualification or not. I think that's Rob Timpen who stopped his car now. That's poor Butnik. Now has a few more opponents in the second race driving on the Bentley. The first race was only his teammate.
So I maybe got another interesting question. How many people playing sim racing are using VR headsets? Is that an interesting thing in sim racing, or is it gives it any disadvantages in just doing things with a monitor?
I think VR is a big deal in sim racing, actually, more than most of the other games. Maybe in flight simulators it's also a very interesting thing, but in sim racing there are a lot of drivers that are using VR, and some are even their intention to buy a simulation depends on if it supports virtual reality or not. That's how far it goes by now, but if it's really an advantage, hard to tell, because some drivers, sometimes it depends if your brain can handle it, or otherwise you get sick. Well, moving, what's it called?
You mean I got motion sickness.
Yeah. Motion, thanks. Motion, that was the word I was looking for. So you might get motion sickness. That's a problem for some of the drivers, and of course you need the hardware from your PC that can handle it, because it needs a lot of PC resources, especially. That's but I hear of a lot of drivers that use VR. Some are going back to a triple screen setup, so 3 huge monitors. That also works very well. For me, I have to say I can't actually try VR because I have my right eye is damaged, and I wear glasses, but they don't help much. And you need 2 properly functioning eyes to get the 3-dimension system working, and I just have a blur whatever I do. I tried a VR setup and or VR glasses, and I just said it doesn't work, because it's always just blurry. Well, but I don't miss it in this way, because it just doesn't work. I tried it once and I said, okay, I never had the chance to try it properly, so it's nothing that I'm missing. But I think it's a big deal in sim racing, and it maybe will even be more. And for some reason we now restarted the qualifying session again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
we are in the warm-up, so the qualifying is through, and let's just see. So Rob Timpen, the positions are now based on what we saw in the qualifying. So
Yeah,
Normal.
and
This is a normal warm-up session now.
yes, yeah, and as much as I saw VR, it's astonishing. It's not nice to hear that you're not able to get this, but I had an HTC Vive on my head for quite a lot of hours now, and for other games it's just like it's so fantastic being in this virtual world. Yeah, and I have thought of that it's pretty cool doing R factor in VR, but I didn't know it was such a big deal, or that it's pretty that R factor even has VR support. I learned that like 2 days ago.
Yeah, there were a lot of people asking for it. I remember when they brought it up, they asked for what's the next thing you want for rFactor 2 back in the days, and then a lot of people were like screaming, VR, please do a VR support, and so there are quite a lot of sim races that switched to VR. But of course, it's also something that can go wrong. There are still drivers that sometimes they're just the picture, the screen went dark, or suddenly the sound didn't work anymore, or things like that. That's something that can still happen with a VR system. Usually, when you have a monitor and some speakers or a headset, the danger of something is breaking down is way less than with VR, but
Yeah,
it depends.
know of that. Sometimes your trackers get off and your head is like outside the car and you drive like 3 meters beneath your car, and it's totally weird because then you're getting motion sickness because your brain can't handle sitting outside of a car moving like the car. And this is some great mistakes or bugs that a studio has to handle, because this will make VR impossible to use for such things as sim racing.
Yeah, especially impossible to use for an event like this, because during a race, if this happens, there's not much you can do then anymore. If you're just doing practice, offline practice or something, that's not a big deal. If something breaks down, you can just fix it and restart, but that doesn't work in an online race. So if the hardware isn't working properly, it might be better just to stick to normal monitors, or maybe a huge some are using beamers and what not. So whatever you like, but I think VR, it is great, but on the other hand, it's also another factor where you can have a bigger bug or a system problem. But let's focus on what will go on in the next few minutes. Hopefully the warm-up session is just finishing. I think everyone is in the pits, or nearly everyone is in the pits.
We have 2 drivers still on track. This is the overlay. This is Kostas Kanzouras, and we have Hilario Sousas. He's now off to the garage.
Yeah. We just wait.
And then we see if the technical issues are resolved. I hope so.
Yeah, so I would check, of course, who will be in the first few positions for the race start. I hope everything worked out, because it should be Rob Timpen on pole and then Juan Franjuano in second. David Haas from third, Christo Niewood from fourth. That's how it should be now for the race session. I think we are now in. Oh, what happened? Yeah, I see cars standing in the starting grid already, so maybe we can switch there. Maybe try up the overlay if the overlay is now working.
So
And something is it's definitely wrong. I'm pretty sure it's wrong. So check the overlay and we will see. Yeah, there's Niklas Popatnik from third, and I think that's not right. So the qualification didn't work out properly, and you can see the flag is waving, but we are off anyway. So everyone's just starting and no one cares. So Rob Tippen, he was waiting, he hesitated if he should start, and Nathan van den Est was just deciding, come on, I will just try my luck, maybe we will have a race, and there are already some crashes in the back, but nothing big at the moment. Rob Tippen keeps on, and then behind him that's the car of Thomas Andriami Haisoa, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it Linus Lundvall? I don't know, but I think everyone is slowing down.
It was Thomas Andriami Haisoa.
Yeah, and then Lukas van den Est and Rob Tippen is in the lead now, ahead of Nathan van den Est. He caught him in the second turn, and now is in the lead again. And for unknown reasons, our overlay is just leaving us alone from time to time.
Yeah, it's crashing all the way.
Yeah, maybe we just shut it down once more, and during that we take a look at the car of Niklas Popatnik in his Bentley. Behind the car of that is Christo Niewood.
And after the restart it doesn't work.
That doesn't work, okay. Anyway, we also have a race going on, so now everyone maybe decided just to say, okay, who cares, we're either racing now or we stop this event for now. So I think they decided to have a race.
DNF. Nick de Witt is DNF. But
and there are a few more out now. Mackenzie is out. And we already lost
people.
Two drivers out now for
but there is no replay going on.
Yeah, sadly some technical issues here at the moment, but we try our best to stay with the race action. So Niklas Popatnik in 6th. Maybe we can just take a short look what is going on now. So there's Nathan van den Est in front of Thomas Andriani Soa. Then it's Lukas van den Est, so the orange and black McLarens, the two Nest Racing cars. Then it's Christo Niewood in the black, in the grey, white and red Corvette. And Niklas Popatnik in the yellow Bentley, and he's chased by Linus Lundvall, bit behind in the yellow, black and blue AMG from Seawolf Racing. Now that's an interesting group of 6 drivers at the moment. Is it 6? 5 drivers racing for 2nd position, while Rob Tippen is already getting away. Now 2.5 seconds ahead of Nathan van den Est, and that's not that much surprising. So maybe now an attack from Niklas Popatnik against the Corvette driver Christo Niewood, but no, he stays behind.
We have Dirk Carnan as a DNF, but our replay is not working as supposed.
Yeah, maybe we forgot one button to press. Again, that happens. Maybe you can just check for...
No, I did it just now. But
still doesn't work. Well, we stay with the race action then. On more replays. We saw that crash in the background. That cost Dirk Carnat, Matthias Mackenzie, Nick de Witt, Marco Caglio and Marius van Wyk to not more taking part in this race.
We're having Mark Lyra taking over the 2nd position in 1 minute, and here he overtook Hilario Souza, and the replay for this is working.
Okay, I get the information. Maybe we're just pressing a button all the time on the streaming PC. Well, I have no idea which one. Maybe just give me a second, please.
Yeah.
Maybe now it will work. I don't know. We can't handle it much now at the moment.
Yeah. For position overtaking, the replays work, but the DNFs maybe came out of nowhere, I think. Okay, the overlay is crashing every time. Okay. So, what's it doing?
Yeah, I think there's one button in the back always pressed because someone maybe pressed the button and then we got out of our remote tool. Now it's like it's pressed all the time. Maybe let me just check one thing, please.
Yeah, do what you want.
No. Stays with us now. Well,
Seems more stable.
seems more stable. Okay, so now we can check on what's going on. Lukas Vandenes with the attack move against Thomas Andriamisoa, and he made the move in the chase. Thomas Andriamisoa was careful there. He left the inside line open, and Christo Neywood with a spin. Here we see just in the grass, and a lot of luck there for Niklas Parbotnik for avoiding the spinning Corvette.
And here we see Björn Warmeyer getting taken over by Marcelo Tocco in the yellow. What that car named? I lost it.
Björn Warmeyer, the grey and black Corvette.
No, I mean the Bentley. I
Bentley.
lost the word Bentley.
Well, you found it after I said Corvette, but now we see
Yeah.
the Bentley driver Marcelo Tocco defending against Björn Warmeyer. I figured out what happened. I think someone of us pressed the Alt button during the remote tool was open, so I don't know, you push the talk, it's on Alt or something.
Oh, it's on F9 and F10.
These are bad buttons if you're using remote tools, but anyway, I think I fixed it by pressing Alt again, so that was the problem, and there's some contact with the wall for Marcelo Tocco. Teammate of Niklas Parbotnik, and they're currently quite good on this track in 5th and 7th position.
And there's a hard fight going on between Thomas Andriamisoa and Lukas Vandenes, because they change position like every minute.
Now it's Lukas Vandenes trying to get away in the black and orange McLaren. And it looks like another good situation now for the Nest Racing team in 2nd and 3rd. But of course you have to consider that we didn't have a proper qualifying now for the 2nd race. I wonder how they will handle it in the results afterwards. Maybe they will just change the whole thing and make a 2nd qualifying for the next race. Maybe something like that to avoid problems like that. But this is something the admins have to figure out and decide, and nothing for us. And we will see again maybe a next move by Niklas Parbotnik against Thomas Andriamisoa, and there is Oskar Köhnen coming out of the pits. Something happened there for the Corvette driver. Definitely more closer racing now in this 2nd race. Daniel Christoph was out of the first race very early, now chasing Kostas Kaloudis in his Corvette, and Kaloudis with some slight mistake outside of air corner, slightly in the grass, and that costs you momentum, but he has the slipstream from Hilario Sousa in the white Bentley. There's Gustav Müller defending against Kostas Katsouras. McLaren drivers. The interesting thing I have to say is it looked like we would have a lot of Chevrolet Corvettes for this winter challenge, and by now we are seeing almost more McLarens than Corvettes on the track. Well, Daniel Christoph again behind Kostas Kaludis, and the Greek driver in the Corvette seems to be a bit in trouble, but both are closing in to Hilario Sousa, who joined the server for the second race. So maybe still some trouble to find the ideal line for his racing setup. Behind you can see Juan Fran Urano, who will be quite annoyed, I think, about that situation now, because he started from second in race number 1, had a second position in the qualifying, and now he had to start from far behind because there wasn't a chance to put the cars in a proper position for race number 2. Slight mistake by Daniel Christoph out of Forest Elbow corner down to the chase, and Kaludis now chasing Hilario Sousa. The Bentley driver has to defend himself, maybe already for the next turn. Final corner. Björn Wahlmeier behind Marcelo Tocco. Björn Wahlmeier got a bit lucky with the starting position. Now already up to 7th and been chasing Marcelo Tocco in the black and yellow Bentley. Running for the Colt Fox backup squad. I think it's quite interesting that the backup squad is actually faster than the original team.
Yeah, that's a bit unlucky for the qualifying numbers that the Colt Fox team is behind the Colt Fox backup squad. But I don't think that the backup squad is in any kind slower or not as courageous as the normal Colt Fox team. I think it's called backup because they just don't have the time to do regular races, and they do races whenever they can because of the time.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure about that after that race evening, because they showed both some really good racing, and I think they had a lot of fun already. And usually when that happens, you really try to find the time every time when there's race evening to participate. When you can see their performance. Oh, and in the front, yeah, there is Christo Niewood with an attack against David Haas on 10th position. And Niewood is through. He takes 10th from David Haas. So the Dutch driver, you can see, he's in the slipstream of the Corvette of David Haas, the white and black car, and down to the chase. He takes the inside line for that fast right-hander, and he's already in front before the braking spot into the chase. Björn Wahlmeier still behind Marcelo Tocco. And that Bentley seems to be quite quick. Not much of a chance, but for Björn Wahlmeier to make an attack move now, maybe right before turn 2. No. I think that's down to the experience of Björn Wahlmeier, a sim racer for, I think, more than a decade. Maybe even 2, I'm not sure. But I know him as a sim racer for now, I think, about 10 years. First time I heard his name in sim racing. So I think he just knew an attack move at that, in this situation, would have been problematic. And that's why he slowed down and gave Marcelo Tocco the lead on 6th position. But how long is this still going on? Tocco had a slight contact with the wall again. That's some tough job to defend that 6th position at the moment.
Yeah, we see a few fights going on in the field. We have Björn Warmeyer fighting against Marcello Taco. We have Christian Niewood trying to get close to Kostas Kansouras. We have David Haas trying to get beneath Christian Niewood. And we have Daniel Christo trying to get close to Kostas Kaludis. And here we see Christian Niewood getting over Kostas Kansouras and taking over the 9th place.
Yeah, nice move there, but obviously he thought that wasn't a fair move and slowed down, so it's not only Katsouras going through, but David Haas on the outside, some slight drifting there after contact, but Niewood stays in front of David Haas. Some tough defending there in the last corner, and now Niewood with the next try to catch Kostas Kansouras in his black McLaren. Kostas Kaludis got passed by Daniel Christo. The Bentley driver, the McLaren driver, just now ahead of Kostas Kaludis.
But here comes the next attack, trying to get past Daniel Christo, and he got it, and got back his 13th place.
He used some of the slipstream and the power of the Corvette to pass the British driver in his white McLaren, and so it goes. Starts anew the fight for 13th position. Now there seems to be a problem is it for Marcello Tocco? Someone was just dropped through the field, but I'm not sure who was it. But let's stay here with Christo Niewood chasing Kostas Kansouras and being chased by David Haas.
Oh, we have like 10 drivers in that are DNF that we didn't cover. We have Ricardo Ferreira that has a DNF pretty recently.
Yeah, but also Linus Lundvall, Oscar Köhnen, so Ricardo Ferreira. We know that point. Oh, and then that he hit the barrier with the rear of the car, and that is the end of it. And now Hilario Sousa also out on 15th position. What happened there?
So
Sousa already slow, and
touched,
then left and right. And I think that already started somewhere at the Skyline chicane, and then just hit the wall on the left. Then he couldn't turn into the left and hit the right, and then again the same the other way around. So now only 14 drivers still going. Jürgen Wallmeier in our list without an DNF, but without a lap time, so I'm not sure what's wrong there. Maybe he's still driving. Yes, he's still going. Jürgen Wallmeier in 15th position, but 10 drivers now out of this second race. That's a bit of the opposite I expected. I hope we would see more drivers staying in this race without too much contact with the wall or another driver, but wow, that's quite a list of drivers that are out. And I think it's especially sad now for Ricardo Ferreira and Hilario Sousa, who joined this round number 1 of the GT3 Winter Challenge for the second race, because they missed the first one, and then they are out about half time of this race, can't drive anymore. So in the end it's just for 15-minute racing they joined.
Yeah, as I said, Bathurst is a pretty dangerous track to drive, and I think it's pretty hard for sim races too, especially if you had such a long break of the server shutting down, restarting after the first race. So I don't think that it's very surprising that this time so much races maybe lost some focus and are crashing regularly.
That of course might be the case. Because you're always thinking, okay, come on now, qualifying again, warm up again, no race, practice again, qualifying again, warm up again, and then they promise you your the old starting position from the qualifying run, from the first qualifying run, and then all of a sudden you start from 20th position, and that gets you even more into trouble. Also in trouble, Thomas Andrea Miaisoa in 4th position, chased by Niklas Porbatnik, and the Bentley driver now trying to move on the outside, but stays behind in 2nd, going very wide, and I think there was some slight touching on the wall, and that costs him momentum. But stays close to Thomas Andrea Miaisoa. Christoph Müller trying to attack Christoph Nywood, the Dutch driver in the Corvette, and it's fighting going on everywhere on the track. Kostas Kalouris in front, but that's Juan Juano, and some sliding there by the Spanish driver. Thank you. Spanish driver. And Daniel Christo.
He luckily got his car up back on the track and not flying wild across the track. So there has been a bit of luck that Juan Fran Rano was not kissing the wall there.
And especially some good car control by Daniel Christoph. Looks like his car is pretty stable, and I think Juan Fran Juano is in trouble because he touched the wall with the right side of his car and he's just limping, I think, and he's out of the race. Juan Fran Juano, maybe we can see that in a replay again. He is out of the race, and here you can see it, that slight contact on the left, but I think he had the contact before. Maybe you can just rewind a little bit, because I think that contact was there. You can see here he comes around and then he hits the wall with the right side of the car, and then it upset his car completely, and that caused him to slow down, and his race is now also over. Jürgen Wallmeier is getting closer to the top 10, and that's something I guess he didn't expect it at the beginning of this race. Now he will move up to 14th position because of that accident by Juan Fran Juano. David Haas in 9th, chasing Christoph Müller. Front, that's the car of Christoph Nywood, and behind the black McLaren of Kostas Katsouras, who now has quite a lonely race there in 10th position. By the way, you got confirmation, Lukas, that the backup squad from Cold Fox, that they are faster, but they won't have the time to participate in every race. But as I said, I think maybe they will decide otherwise after this race evening, after this very successful race evening so far.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't get the time to do this as regular as other drivers. Maybe they cannot take the time every second Sunday to do this. But I think, yeah, they're faster, especially in this race. And then now we're having a fight going on between Niklas Porbatnik and Thomas Andrea Miaisoa, and now he's overtaken him.
And there was a mistake by Andrea Miaisoa. Maybe it's too late on the brakes because he came back on the track from the dirt, and what was happening there? That was Nathan van der Nest, and he dropped down way down the field. Sliding into the gravel, some connection issues as well, so that's all looking quite strange.
But now he's back on track.
Yeah, some nasty lags there from Hans Vickers van der Nest, but now back to racing, and it's David Haas chasing Christoph Müller still now again up the mountain straight. And I think David Haas, he should be faster with the Corvette out of the slipstream of the McLaren. Now we see the move, but he's on the outside for turn 2, but Christoph Müller, he slows down a little bit, takes the foot off the throttle because it
That's
was...
him path through, that
Yeah.
there's no commotion going on.
And of course he knows that David Haas should be the faster one of the two drivers. So he's only in 8th, but that's because of the bad starting position for race number 2.
And now there's two possible fights. There can be Daniel Christo, who is right behind Kostas Kaludis, and there is David Haas coming up to Christo Niebuhr, and Christoph Müller maybe gets back to David Haas. The rest of the field has stretched out a bit, so that there's not that much of a distance, but a significant distance.
Oh, and there's Daniel Christoph with the spin and a heavy impact into the wall, and that's a bad position to make a U-turn of your car and
Ow.
slam the wall again. And hopefully Marcelo Tocco will show up soon. There he is with his Bentley, and
But he can get around him.
yeah, a lot of luck there, but Daniel Christoph drops down to 13th, but I think not that much damage on his McLaren, so he can still at least finish this race. Bad luck there for the British driver. Car got a bit loose on the back and then just spinning into the wall, but you're quite slow there in the S's, so that prevent him from even more damage to his car. Christo Niebuhr in 6th, trying to close in to Björn Wahlmeier, so there we're talking about 5th position here. The Dutch driver will still try to close in, but it's not the Dutch driver, I'm sorry. It's a Dutch name, but he's from South Africa. But I think those who know history know that it was
Some colonial.
was a Dutch colony
Yes.
a long time ago, but there's still a lot of people that are talking Dutch over there.
And the Dutch names are pretty common there. Dutch and German names are pretty common in South Africa, or in Kenya I think too.
I'm not
And-
sure, honestly.
Here's some pretty pretty hard sliding going on in the S's. Trying to close into Björn Wahlmeier.
And Niewood is pushing it. And he sees the gap, he sees the chance to take one more position. And he's late on the brakes and makes the move into the chase. And Björn Wahlmeier luckily took a look into the mirror and saw him coming there on the inside. Quite a late move under braking, but Christo Niebuhr takes 5th position from Björn Wahlmeier. But I think that's it. The grabbing positions, but now because he's now 9th seconds behind Thomas Andiamiaisoa and the Seawolf Racing driver on the AMG. I think he will be quite pleased with that 4th position.
And we have another DNF. We have Wiekes van der Nest coming to
And
the pit.
he had that connection issues.
Yes.
And he made that DNF from, I think that was his decision to stop the car in the pits because of those problems.
And now we have half of the field DNF'd. So this is pretty astonishing, I think.
I think it's because of the it is the track. I think it just is the track because that it was they gambled a bit with that decision to use Bathurst as the first track for starting that GT3 Winter Challenge. because usually it is, I think, the most difficult track in the entire challenge. The second run will be in Sepang, and Sepang has a lot more room for racing than Bathurst.
Yeah, Bathurst is really hard to master and hard to drive alone, so you have to be more careful when driving with others. So it's a pretty hard job doing it well. So I think we see a pretty good race, but there are a few things that could happen better. so
Maybe let's take a look at Rob Timpen, how far he is on the track, because that's the last lap. So I think that's the first sector at the moment.
Yes, he's now in the second sector, and if everything goes well this round, he'll be first for the second time.
Yeah, and it was obviously a smart move for him to do a timed lap in that short qualifying session, just to make sure to be in front if anything goes wrong, and it went wrong with the manual setup for the starting positions, and he had the pole position anyway. That made it easy in the end for him to take a second victory this evening. Well, I won't say it already because there's always something that can go wrong in the final minutes, but we're just switching to the fight Costas Kansouras against Christoph Müller, because obviously something happened there that Kansouras dropped down to 9th. It's Müller trying defending his 8th position for these last few kilometers on the track. Kansouras opened the steering for avoiding crash with the wall, and now he has some slipstream, but I'm not sure if that's enough for Kansouras to make a move against Müller down the Conrad Straight.
But how he's getting closer.
Picking up speed.
He got the slipstream and got through, so Christoph Müller got back on position 9, and Costas Kansouras overtaking the 8th position, and is now 8 seconds behind David Haas, which will not suffice to get to the 7th position in one round.
Well, I think the race is over already, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, it's over.
I still wanted to keep on talking. So now, so it's Rob Timpen with a double victory tonight, and again, so it's his 4th victory in a row. Nathan van den Est in second. Niklas Porbadnik, the teammate of Marcelo Tocco, finishes in 3rd ahead of Thomas Andrea Miaisoa. Then it's Christo Niewood in 5th. Björn Wallmeier 6th. David Haas 7th. Costas Kansouras, we saw it just a second moment ago, in 8th. Christoph Müller 9th, Kostas Kaludis in 10th, then it's Marcelo Tocco, who finished in 11th. Daniel Christo, he finishes in 12th, and Jürgen Wallmeier, I think he is, well, no lap time, but he finished in 13th, obviously. And out of the race, Vikus van den Est, Juan Fran Juano, Hilario Sousa, Ricardo Ferreira, Linus Lundvall, Oscar Köhnen, Mike Lyra, Dirk Carnat, Matthias McKenzie, Nick DeWitt, Marco Caglio, and Marius van Wyk. So that's a huge list of drivers who didn't make it to the finish line, but that's, well, it's Bathurst, so maybe you can still say, okay, that's a bad result, but hey, come on, it's Bathurst. It's easy to hit the wall twice and then you're out of the race. So I think in Sepang we won't see so many problems for the drivers. And now I think we will just take a short break and then maybe have some of the drivers with us for an interview and talk about their results of the 2 races. So the podium drivers hopefully will still have some time to answer some questions to us. Please stay put. We'll be back in a few minutes. So we are back now with our interviews. We'll just try to find a nice picture now because we are not back shortly. We are back now with our podium drivers from race 1 and 2. I just came into the discussion what happened there for race 2, but that's something we will talk about later. We will come to the driver who set the not only the pole position twice, but who also won both races, Rob Timpen. Now with the preseason event is 4 wins or 4 victories in a row. Where will this stop? Rob Timpen, congratulations. Awesome driving by you in both races. Are you a bit surprised to be that further up in front to the entire rest of the field, or was that something you expected after the qualifying this evening?
I think after the testing, I was ahead of everyone. Qualifying, I took pole, so I was quite confident.
Non-essential personnel.
The only real challenge at that point was keeping it out of the wall, which I managed to do. It's difficult to overtake you, so if you can keep the lead, you can only mess it up yourself, really. So,
yeah. And you really figured out to avoid that. Start always a bit tricky. In the first race, there was that move by David Haas just right away in the front. So some bit dangerous, of course. Maybe David will talk about that in a few minutes as well. But was that a moment where you thought, "Oh, please no"?
Yeah, I looked in the mirror. He had a great start. I was like, "Shit." So I knew. Juan Roan was next to me, so I just tried to close the gap so he couldn't get in between. I thought it was safe, but maybe I have to look it back. But yeah, it was a deliberate move for sure. I just, he had a great start and he probably would have gotten the lead as well. So yeah, I closed the door.
Okay, so Bathurst, of course, a very tricky track, and you have to keep your concentration up. But I guess you were quite lucky. There was no one to fight against, because usually you fight the track enough to and don't want anyone else around you. Or was it a bit lonely for you?
It was lonely. You get lazy at some point, especially during race 2. I really got lucky. I hit the wall once or twice. So. Yeah, at some point you just lose your concentration a little bit, and at Bathurst that can really ruin your race. But I got lucky. I managed to don't get any suspension damage, keep it going, keep it on track. So yeah, I can't really complain.
Yeah, I can see that with the double victory tonight. So next race will be in Sepang, so a much easier track. A lot more space, especially no walls close to the racetrack itself. So maybe some closer racing, because you can be more, you take the turns more confident and don't have to be afraid of walls just right at the turn exit. So how are you looking forward to that race?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I had 2 good starts. Suzuka I didn't expect. Be fast there. Bathurst, I had good hopes. I like Bathurst. I like Malaysia as well. So, yeah, I'll keep my hopes up. Do the best I can.
Okay, so good expectations for you. You like the track. So maybe again, a few victories now. So definitely you are the one the others have to deal with. That's the feeling I think we can get. Rob Timpen, again, congratulations for that double victory here in Bathurst at the first round of the GT3 Winter Challenge. And I thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Second driver, we were already talking about him. Second position in race number 1, and then because of that starting positions trouble in race number 2, it was 7th position. David Haas, congratulations, and we already mentioned it, that pretty great start in race number 1 that almost brought you the lead, but then it got too narrow between the 2 cars and between the car of it was Juan Fanuano and of course Rob Timpen, and so you dropped behind, but in the end there was that mistake by Juan and that gave you second position and you kept it for the rest of the race. Congratulations, David. But I think the second race is a bit annoying for you because you didn't get that great starting position.
Yes, thank you. And first of all, congratulations to Rob for winning the first 4 races, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly, the start of the first race got me by surprise a little bit. It was better than I expected myself. So I had to make a choice. Am I going to stay behind them or am I going to take the gap? And I went for the gap. And luckily it turned out pretty well. And after the first 1 or 2 laps, I saw that the gap in front of me was gaining, but the gap in front of me also. So the rest of the race was pretty lonely. And then indeed, during the short qualifying session of the second race, I didn't have any lap. I couldn't make a lap, so I started all the way from the back. I believe it was 18th. And finishing 7th was also a bit of a surprise because in the second lap I had 1 or 2 incidents and I damaged my front and rear suspension, so I had to drive the rest of the race with a tilted steering wheel.
Oh.
Oh, some difficult conditions for you in the second race, but still, you made it up to 7th, so maybe made the best out of those problems. They were already addressed, these difficulties with the what went wrong this evening, so I hope we won't see this again. And again means next race in Sepang in 2 weeks. So David, what are your expectations? You know now that you are capable of at least second position. Rob Timpen is the one that needs to be chased if it maybe tries to keep interesting there in this challenge. What are your expectations?
From Malaysia, I'm not expecting too much because I have to be honest, I didn't know Bathurst. I know the other tracks from Formula 1, but I didn't know Bathurst, so I spent all my last 2 months practicing on Bathurst, and I haven't practiced really on Malaysia yet, so 2 weeks to go is a bit short notice, so let's see if I can even make it into the top 10.
Okay, so keeping the expectations low, but hey, it's 2 weeks to Sepang, so still a lot of time for you to train that track as well, even especially when you already know a bit of it. It might be easier for you. But even though the frustrating part of the bad starting position in race number 2, sometimes somehow it feels a bit that you're still happy about that 7th position in the end. And with that result. So congratulations again, David Haas, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. And to be honest, the second race was much more fun because of many battles I had to do. So that was great. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the drivers you fought with, they know, everyone knows who is meant by that. So congratulations again, and thank you for the interview as well. We go over to 3rd position in race number 1, and then it was only, that's always careful to say, 5th position in race number 2 for Christo Niewood. Christo, congratulations. So great result for your team, especially with Rob Timpen with a double victory, and then now Awesome Racing with 3rd and 5th for race number 1 and 2. Congratulations. And there was a lot of going on around you during both races. So satisfied with the result?
Hi Sebastian, thanks very much. Yes, yeah, congratulations to Rob and to everyone else that hit the pole positions and the podiums and all that, and even finishing the race, because Bathurst is very, very difficult to really do good times and to keep it out of walls and that kind of stuff. But I love the track. Race 1, you know, I started off bad. The same with the test race, I just don't know. I've been practicing my starts, but this car just won't move. And I haven't got traction control on now, but it just wouldn't come off the line. So in race 1, I think I lost a place or 2 into the first corner. But the guys were very good, like, you know, and they weren't pushing in the first corner, so I could actually gain places again. And then I was behind, was it in fourth place. I think I was a little bit, and then I gained third place behind David. But like David was fast, and I just couldn't, pick up with him. I know my teammate was ahead, so I just left him there, and I was concentrating on finish the race. And I said to Rob, during the race, the car I think had 91% tires left, but it was slippery. And then all of a sudden it was back good again. So I don't know why these tires act like that, or is it was mine? But Rob complained about the same thing, and then it was better again until the end. So I just kept it in third position. That was race 1. Yes, race 2, another bad start. Battling, and then I lost a few positions because of the qualifying. I just couldn't get a nice lap in again. Losing some places put me behind a few guys that were slow during some corners where I was fast, and maybe they were fast in where I was slow again. But I gained on them, and then I missed my braking point through, I think, the third last corner, yes. And then you guys must have seen I went off and I was farming and eventually I came back in 14th place. And like David said, from 14th place, it was my best race ever to have diced with the guys. I think me and David was amongst one another. I don't know if I touched David slightly, and if I say sorry for that if I did. But yeah, I never thought I would get into 5th place. I got, I think, in 6th, 7th place, and I said, okay, that's fine for me. But then a few guys fall out again in the meantime as well. So I got quite a good 5th place, and I'm happy with it. And me and the team, my buddy Rob, I think we've done all right for tonight, yes.
Yeah, definitely great job, and nice to hear that you had that much of fun in, even though in this second race, even if the start wasn't so good, and with that mistake. So shows we definitely you're one to keep an eye out for the next races and next race in Sepang. So Christo, what are your expectations?
Okay, I know Sepang as well from driving Formula 1 cars there, as well as other cars. I like the track, but it's a very technical track. There are corners that you really got to have a good setup to be able to brake while you are in the corner, and that is what's making it difficult with these cars. And then also you get like the very sharp first corner, and second and third corner for that matter. So it's going to be tricky there, and I just hope for a podium there again, if it's going to be good there. If me and Rob can work out a nice setup as well. We started off with a bad setup. We really was slow, and then we actually got a nice setup, and that actually helped us because the car was the back wasn't really coming out in corners. It was really solid through Bathurst, and that is what you need for a track like that. That's what's keeping you away from the walls. So yes, if you get there's not a lot to set up on these cars actually, like you guys must know. But the little bit of suspension work that you do and that kind of stuff, it actually do help to make your race easier for yourself, to make it so that the car sits through the corners and so on. So yeah, so let's try for the first 5 places maybe in Sepang. It would be nice, yes.
Okay, so the car is already working well with the current setup, so maybe some more improvements, and then yeah, the other drivers will be even more in trouble with you chasing for the podium. Christo, of course, congratulations again to you as well for to 3rd and 5th position this evening, and I thank you for the interview as well.
Thank you, Sebastian.
And as I see someone changed the name, I think it was Rob, and created a new hashtag that means Christo talks too much. But that's something you have to figure out now, because I want to also I have the interview with the two other drivers from the second race, and second place for Nathan van der Nest. And Nathan, you had already a good race or a good result in the first race, 5th position, especially good result with your as for the Nest team in general. So congratulations, and you had a lot of going on around your black and orange McLaren.
Yes, hi guys. I didn't expect to do this well, but I'm very glad and satisfied. It was very stressful. This is some of my first races online and so on. I had lucky passes, you know, like I'm not good with passing guys, but luckily I had nice gaps to take over, to pass them and so on. So yeah, I'm very glad.
So you did a very good job for one of your first online races. That's especially against this field on a track like that with Bathurst. So there are drivers that did like 500 online racing and they would still crash in Bathurst. And so pretty good job, I'd say. But that raises, of course, expectations. So how is that working out for you now?
Well, I did a lot better than I expected, but for the future races, I don't know. I can just do my settings as well as I can. My dad does especially well with it, so I have to say thanks to him. So yeah, hopefully I'll do good again in the future races.
Yeah, so currently, after that result, things are looking good. How is it with Sepang? Do you know the track well, or is it something like you have now to learn completely new?
It sounds like something I have to learn completely new. I don't think I know Sepang at all.
Okay, so some work coming up. How's it with your father? Is he does he know more about it and maybe help a bit along?
I don't know if he knows the track well or not. I know he did a lot of Formula 1 racing, so maybe he does know the track. But what I do know is when it comes to tuning cars, he does quite alright. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so there's some work on the setup definitely to be expected for the McLaren of your car. Nathan van der Nest, so then congratulations to the podium and 5th position this evening, and and thank you for the interview as well.
Thanks guys.
And then there's the fastest Bentley driver this evening, Niklas Bobatnik, also with us now. So 3rd position in race number 2. The first one it was 6th position. So great racing for you, and I think you had quite a lot of fights with the Bentley as well. Satisfied with the result for the first round, or do you think especially maybe the first race could have been better?
Definitely not. Getting to the top 10 in both races was my target, especially because 70% of the lap the Bentley is doing what he wants and you just like need to save yourself. So I'm more than happy with the result, especially with the podium. And if I'm honest, I did not realize that I'm fighting with Thomas for a podium position because I was driving in VR with no HUD, so I had no idea where I am, in which position. So yeah, when I realized, it was actually a great feeling.
Nice surprise, so to speak. Nothing you expected at all?
No.
Okay, so from top 10 in the end, it's P3 and P6. Something to be really happy about, and then maybe looking forward to the next race. So something you would say, okay, that's a goal to go for, or do you more consider being a bit lucky and maybe just looking for top 10 again?
I'll definitely look more for a top 10. I don't think that I had the pace for P3. So I think when the track is less random as Bathurst is, a few guys will be faster than I am. So maybe 3rd place was the best season result.
not that high of an expectation for the race in Sepang.
I haven't driven the Bentley at Sepang, but so I'm not 100% sure, but I don't feel like I'm a regular visitor for podium.
Okay, but means we are we still keep an eye out for that. Maybe we saw what can happen today, so some problems here and there for some drivers, some lag maybe, and of course some of the crashes. Sepang not that often, hopefully, because we lost half of the field in the second race. That was really really a heavy one, so hope that doesn't happen in Sepang, but of course looking forward maybe at least top 10 for you, but now we know about the pace, and I think most of the drivers get a feeling how fast all the others around are at the moment. Niklas Porbatnik, of course, again, congratulations to 3rd and 6th position this evening, and thank you for the interview as well.
Thank you.
And as I heard, Lukas Schürmann's voice is breaking down a little bit. I don't know. Are you able to speak again?
Yeah, a bit.
A bit. Okay. Well, you got lucky because we are coming to the end of this broadcast, and we will be back with more GT3 Winter Challenge racing on 9th of December. Then we will be in Sepang, and of course, again, real weather picked up from the location in Interlagos, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and maybe we will have some rain in Sepang. That would be very interesting, and we are definitely looking forward to that. And again, of course, thank you to P1 Media for that we can broadcast from that server, and thank you, Lukas, for commentating again with you. And even though you're a bit
ill, yeah,
a little bit ill,
thank you for moderating with me and carrying me through this stream.
Well, it was a pleasure, and of course, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and I hope we to see you again in 2 weeks when we will be back with the GT3 Winter Challenge by rf2-Racingleague.com. Have a nice evening, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Single file, the caution lights are down. George is